Steph Curry becomes the first NBA player to reach 4,000 threes. The greatest shooter that God ever created in the NBA has reached another milestone in his legendary career. Steph Curry, the guy from Davidson who the Warriors took a flyer on in the draft, who took March Madness by storm, has flourished into, in my opinion, one of the 10 greatest basketball players to ever live. I mean, his legacy speaks for itself. He went off for 5 threes against the Kings early this week to eclipse 4,000. A lot like LeBron James with his 50,000 points, Curry's 4,000 threes feels like a record that may never get broken. I mean, the second closest player to Curry is James Harden at 3,127 threes. But because James Harden and Steph Curry are both still in the NBA, I don't see a situation where James Harden is able to catch up. And the other players on this list consist of Ray Allen, Damian Lillard, Klay Thompson, Reggie Miller, LeBron James, Kyle Korver. And so because of that, those names are players who are either retired or at the twilight of their career where they won't be here too much longer. To round out 9 and 10, it's Paul George and Vince Carter. So when you look at this list, I don't know if there's going to be a player who's going to be able to match this level of dominance from the three-point line like Steph and Curry. I think this is going to be a record that when we look back at it 10 years from now, he's probably going to eclipse 5,000 threes, maybe 6,000 threes. It doesn't show any signs of slowing down. I don't know how many years of good basketball Steph Curry has left, but the way he's playing right now, especially coming off of the Olympics, and Noel, how about these old guys, KD, LeBron, Curry, they came back from the Olympics and just said, we're going to go into the NBA and just remind all the young pups that we are the best at this, and you guys are just trying to catch up. And so when I look at this, what do you make of Stephen Curry hitting 4K?
I'll say the NBA is very, very lucky that Steph, LeBron, and KD have continued to play at the level they play at, because we haven't gotten anyone that they've been able to officially pass the torch to just yet. But man, Curry, you know, we always looked at him as someone that was going to transition well into his later 30s, just because, I mean, his game has evolved around being a great jump shooter, being able to make reads against all types of defenses. His athleticism was never the key factor that made him a great player. His quickness, of course, made him a great player. We've seen that has taken a hit, but the shot, being able to get around 3, 4 guys at times and still getting a good look at the rim, getting that rotation on and scoring, it's incredible. And this feat, it's something that we look at and we're like, 4K threes, that's something we're talking about. But when you read that list to me, I'm like, man, you see all these other players, see a Vince Carter who hasn't played in so long. You see, I'm surprised that Paul George is on the top 10 list, honestly, man. It goes to show that he was able to play a lot of games earlier in his career. But yeah, shout out to Steph, man, and shout out to the Warriors for going from the 11th to now looking like the 6th seed and maybe even missing the play-in tournament. I'm excited to see how he's going to perform in the postseason.
I love what you talked about because he's 37 years old, Noel, but his style of play is like ageless. Yeah. You know, ironically, LeBron James playing at 40 still almost amazes me just from the standpoint of you would think because his game was so much predicated, a lot of skill. I want to make sure I mention that skill, but his athleticism, especially from young to now, was taking him over the top. And usually that athleticism like weans off. And so you're not the same player. You saw it a lot with Vince Carter in his career once his athleticism started to die down. But for these two unicorns, I mean, Curry at 37, how many more years do you think he has left? I mean, he doesn't feel like I'm watching a 37-year-old basketball player.
It doesn't feel like I'm watching someone that I'm like, man, his farewell tour is right around the corner, and that one's gonna hit because you growing up, I didn't like Curry. I was a big LeBron fan, so I would hate when he was hooping, but I can appreciate his game a lot more now, and I still think he has at least 2 more years of still being, you know, a top 3, top 4 point guard in the league, and still being able to have these 50-point games, these 13 3-point games, just because the Warriors are finally making some moves to get guys around him that will relieve some of the pressure. When he's not being keyed in on the entire game every single 40 minutes, you know, that makes all the difference. Having a Jimmy Butler with him, having solid young bigs, that makes all the difference.
Yeah, no doubt. And the thing that's crazy when you think about him being at 4,000 threes, no, I don't think people remember this. To start his career, Steph Curry had some of the worst ankles in the NBA. Like, if you ever noticed,
it's like what we see with LaMelo Ball right now.
Right,
it's very similar.
Steph Curry wears those really big, tight, thick ankle braces whenever he plays. And so it only makes me think, if he had been healthy to start his career like consistently, where would he be at? Because the fact that he's at 5,000, he's reached a number that 4,000, excuse me, he's eclipsed a number that nobody's reached yet. It almost makes it feel like he could have been at 6,000 right now. We could be talking about Steph Curry in 4 years from now as the first 10,000 3-pointers made in a career basketball player. So it not only shows like his level of greatness, but it also shows the level of player that, I mean, his influence on the game, but it shows not only that he's never going to stop, man. It just feels like the pace that he's on. I mean, it seems like he could probably retire at 45, it feels like, if he wanted to.
Yeah, absolutely. Like we said, that was a big reason why everybody was viewing him as someone that was going to evolve and adapt well, no matter how the NBA was going to change, because he changed the NBA. Everybody adapted and everybody started playing like how he had the Warriors playing. And when you're the guy that is at the forefront of such a big change, you're going to be able to continue pushing that way. We haven't seen another guard come in the NBA that has been able to do exactly what he's done. Trae Young came close. He was a guy coming out of Oklahoma, small guard, could shoot the three, could pass the ball really well, but his impact on the game isn't the same. We've seen other sharpshooters, but nobody like him. So yeah, I give it at least 2 more years of being a top 3-point guard in the league.
He's definitely a 101.